How will the incoming Trump administration handle sanctuary cities that refuse to comply with its deportation policy? Trump's future border czar gave us an idea while speaking in deep blue Chicago. And here to break it down for us is Blaze News reporter Andrew Chapados. And he wrote about this for theblaze.com. And Andrew, I mean, what does this say about the incoming administration and what they're willing to do with cities that are resistant to its policies?
Well, I think all they're really willing to do is follow the laws that are already on the books. I, for one, think it's a really good, normal idea to say if one of these mayors wants to break federal laws, then they should probably be sought out for prosecution in some way, shape, or form, or at least negotiated with. But what the mayor of Chicago and Governor Pritzker are saying is they don't really want anything to do with it. And they like to mix up the words. They always say, the migrant community or the immigrant community, when obviously this is specifically going after illegal immigrants. And it was really funny. What was said about this was because if they don't let them go after these criminal illegal aliens, then they said they're going to end up finding the people who aren't already wanted for extra crimes outside of already entering the country illegally. So it might end up being worse off for the Democrats in these cities and states than they had already anticipated if they don't cooperate.
I mean, what do you think happens if they don't resist exactly? Imagine this scenario is playing out, right? Because the left has had bold movies about Civil War, happening in America, et cetera. And the beautiful thing about American federalism, right, is that then it flips, and all of a sudden you become a federalist. How do you particularly see this playing out?
I think what will end up happening is if there is enough pressure in some of these cities, then they will have to face their own police force and their own citizens, asking why aren't we doing this? Especially in a place in Chicago where illegal immigrants are sleeping in the airport and they've literally run out of aid for them at taxpayers' expense and run out of room in tent cities for them. I think you're going to start to see people actually rising up in a peaceful sense, where they're complaining and saying, why don't you want these people out of our city when we have to pay for them? It might be harder to find people in a place like New York City, but I think in Chicago, where they have faced resistance from their own population in multiple boroughs, it's going to be hard for them to just say, we don't want anybody taken out of here. So what I really think is going to happen is they're going to come to some sort of agreement with the federal government about getting the worst criminals out there, that is people who have multiple convictions for robbery or murder or what have you, and those people will be handed over quietly, but still handed over in the end. But I still think that there's going to be, you can't go after all of them. They're all, not tax-paying loving people, but you can't say tax-paying, but they're still going to try to defend them as long as they haven't committed any extra crimes, let's say. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's pretty amusing stuff. In fact, I have a friend who says he wants the government to lay off the blue states completely in the beginning, just clean out the red states, just to increase the pressure in those places, right, where before you leave the country, you're probably going to go to one of those sanctuary cities. And he's just relishing that happening, like, please let it happen. So because he suspects, as you do, that the response from people, right, people are done with it, and they don't want to see it anymore. I wonder if we can move to your shirt.
He's a football guy. Football guy for what?
Oh, it's just generic. I'm a generic football fan.
There it is.
If football is on the screen, then I will probably watch it. I watched The Simpsons Monday Night Football last night for about an hour. I don't know why they did that. I don't know who exactly has the appetite for all of that, but I'm still watching it. When I turned it on, I heard Krusty the Clown has already hit a 38-yard field goal tonight. I was pretty down to see what else was going to happen.
Well, I love it, and I wanted to take it into sports as well, because now it seems like everybody is on board with Donald Trump these days, where they weren't a few years ago, but now everybody's on the bandwagon, and you can include the president of the Olympic Committee in that. He was bashing Donald Trump back in 2017, but now he's saying, oh, I have all these confidence in Donald Trump for the games in 2028. So I know that you wrote about this. Can you dive into this a little bit more and just let us know what he was saying initially back in 2017?
In 2017, he had a meeting with Trump at the White House where I guess they had some sort of disagreement on how to handle the Olympics, and he was heard on his cell phone. Of course, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's confirmed that he said, pray for our world, as in, I took it as Donald Trump's going to destroy the world, the old rhetoric of that. But now we fast forward 7 years later, and Trump's going to be the president again, and the Olympics are actually going to be in Los Angeles under his term. And now they're saying, we knew all along that Trump loved us. We always thought that Trump cared about the Olympics. He's such a swell guy, and we're not worried at all. We got to talk to his transition team. And it's like, we know what's happening here. You know that you're going to have to play ball, or Trump's going to make it a living hell for you, especially in Los Angeles, where he's going to want to specifically make it super American, super patriotic. And he has the ability now to make it a rough go for these people. Now, I also want to point out that in the same press conference they had, the Olympic Committee, they were bragging about how many people watched the last Olympics, the Paris ones, but no mention of how they made fun of the Last Supper, no mention of the multiple men that were fighting in women's boxing, no mention of that. It's just, we got record viewership, so it really shows you what they're after. We don't care if men are beating up women in our sport, as long as we get that viewership. That's all that matters.
Andrew, we're going to clean it up this time, okay? We're going to make sure that the Olympics are going to be great again. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
And Matthew, I have everything behind me thinking that Donald Trump is actually going to do this, because we aren't even at the 250th birthday of America, and he is already planning our great party that's going to be in my home state of Iowa.
No, look, I mean, it's very true. Andrew is saying that the Olympics, people sense that Trump is this figure who's going to usher in a celebration of greatness and excellence. And he's been talking about this from the beginning. He was talking about this sort of thing actually in his last term. I mean, so this is real. This is going to happen, and you can tell that everyone's excited about it.